Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Hi. It's Chris the Rock again, back with the Hatamoto-Chi. We've got the Daniel 2. Now, this is actually the Shugo hero mech that's already in MWO. For whatever reason, licensing agreement, whatever it is that PGI / MechWarrior, sorry, not MechWarrior, Microsoft have, I don't think they're allowed to use specific names or logos, that kind of thing, because you never see any merch for these, do you? PGI certainly aren't allowed to make any merch. So, I don't think they're allowed to actually mention specific named characters. I mean, when you think about it, despite the fact that Natasha Kerensky's Warhammer is in there, it's not called the Widowmaker, it's called the Black Widow, for instance, that kind of thing. So this is called the Shugo, but this is actually Daniel Sorenson's second Hatamoto-Chi from the Sword of Light unit Sorenson Sabres, quite a famous unit. Funnily enough, I did a lore warrior about the longbow, which mentioned one of the pilots of Sorenson Sabres, Stingy Svensson. He was had a bit of a tragic tale, to be honest. But Daniel Sorenson, he was a very successful pilot. Walked around in a thug for a bit, and a marauder, and eventually ended up ending his career piloting this very mech, with its dual LB-10s and Streak SRM-6s. The original one had, I believe it was Streak 4s or SRMs, but this is the later upgrade model. And yeah, it's pretty decent. It's kind of unique for a Hatamoto in that the energy weapons in the arms are replaced for LB autocannons instead, but the missiles are substantially more deadly because of the streak capabilities in the mech. The only downside is to mount such heavy weaponry that's also ammunition based, it does require quite a reduction in the engine. Its top speed is more in line with a 90 to 100 tonner at 50 kph. It's not the fastest for an 80 ton assault, but it is still quite good. Damage wise, by the end of this video you'll see that I definitely give as almost as good as I got. And yeah, if you have the mech credits available, this isn't bad. I do actually like this one. It's very rare that I'll recommend a hero mech because of the MC cost involved. But if you've got some spare MC and you're liking the Sphere Assault mechs, this isn't a bad choice actually. I do quite like this one. The missiles are high mounted in the chest, which means if you did want to switch them out for something like MRMs or just like LRMs, that kind of thing, you're not going to be too bad for ground clearance. The arms, yes, are a little low, so you will have to expose more of the mech for the shots, but it's not that big a change. And you can, being this is a ballistic version of the Hatamoto, you could actually switch this out for rotaries, for instance, and turn it into a real deadly, just like, well, grinding mech, just, you know, wears down the armor of an opponent as you get in close. At MRMs combined, I imagine this thing could be bleeding deadly. But yeah, it is a good mech. I do find it a shame that actually PGI can't use certain names and stuff, because if they could have painted this up to look like a proper Sorenson Sabres mech, this would have been cool. But yeah, that's the Shugo. The only reason it's also not, I think, directly named as such or referenced as such is because it doesn't have C3. But since MWO kind of uses C3 for everybody anyway, and for anyone who doesn't know, C3 is a system that was largely used by the Draconis Combine. Basically, like you have a hub commander in the Lance who has the master unit, and all the other units are slaved to that unit. And basically what happens, any mech in his Lance that gets a lock, everyone in the Lance gets that targeting information. So basically, MWO just has a kind of super version of C3 where one person gets locked, everyone in the team gets locked. That's all it is. But it is actually a piece of equipment. It does take weight in the mech. But because MWO doesn't use it, I guess they didn't want to put this in because it relies on having a C3 system. But basically, that's what this is. It's the only difference. The weapons are the same. Ammunition count's the same. I think even the engine armor's the same. So it's not that big a change. Oh, this is where I got... Yeah, big downside, it can get stripped. Loser side's also 50% of your weaponry's gone. And yeah, I'd never recommend running an XL engine on a Hatamoto. That'd be a bad idea. A bit like the awesome wide torsos is a bit of a problem. But I do really like the mech. The Hatamoto is definitely one of those mechs. It was one of those ones that I remember seeing it the first time in the book and thinking it looked cool, and then it was in the cartoon series and it was friggin' ace. Especially since it just had that one-off appearance. It was so random. It was just like... I guess their budget sprung for one more mech and they decided, yeah, let's have the Hatamoto-Chi. And it's one of my favourite episodes as well, the fight in that, a triple threat. I can't get enough of a good triple threat match in any game, really. So yeah, the Hatamoto-Chi is always sort of lodged there as one of those like really cool mechs. If you haven't tried it, yeah, just have a look at it. You know, if you've got the spare Seabills lying around, as I said, you like Innisphere Assaults, this isn't a bad choice by any stretch. Oof, Irby gets a kill at the end there. But, oh, and there he goes, he pops. And that's pretty much the end of the round. So, I did over 600 damage in this thing. It's not bad for a straightforward build like this, but dual LBs will deliver the goods every single time. I do really like this. Is the Hatamoto's done. I'm probably going to go to the 85 tonners next for the Innisphere. Battlemaster or Stalker, not quite sure yet, but we'll see. Until then, all, have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!